Commuting to work does not have to be dangerous, and it doesn't have to be cumbersome. You just have to make a few extra preparations, and you have to be a little bit more mindful in adverse weather conditions. Hey everybody, I just got up. I'm getting ready to head to work. It's a process getting ready for work every morning when you have to ride a bicycle. You have to give yourself extra time in the morning. It's really difficult because in a car you just have to grab your crap, get in your car, turn the key, and you're off. When you're riding a bicycle, it's not that simple. You have to deal with all kinds of contingencies. You have to deal with what if the weather abruptly changes? What happens if I get a flat tire, which is more susceptible on a bike than it is on a car. On a bicycle, those little bitty shards of glass, those little bitty thorns, or those little bitty pieces of metal or road debris or anything can pierce a tire. So you have to be prepared in case you get a flat tire, which means you have to have extra tubes. You have to have tools and equipment to take the tire off, to pump the tire back up. And you have to allow yourself the time to be able to do all this stuff. So you have to give yourself plenty of time when biking into work just in case the unexpected happens. Now, if you live 2 or 3 miles away from work, it's not a big deal. You can usually risk it, wing it. If you live a mile away from work, you really don't have to worry about it because if your bike breaks down, you could hoof that pretty easy. But when you work 17 miles away from where you live and you're biking, you really have to be prepared, because if you're not prepared, you're just going to find yourself in a bad situation, and that sucks. It really sucks. Now, packing these panniers is one of the keys to everything. In this one, I have tools. I have an extra pump. I have, bike locks. I have lube. I have tire changing tools. I have extra tubes. I have, emergency ponchos, extra batteries. I have all kinds of different things that I keep just in case an emergency happens, or just in case the unthinkable happens, or just in case something breaks. These multi-tools. It's really good to have a good multi-tool. This one is one of my favorites. It has all sorts of different tools, everything from a chain breaker to different wrench sizes, to Allen keys, to Torx bits, to pretty much everything that you're going to need to work on your bike. And having a multi-tool is one of the most important things. And the more tools you have, the better off you're going to be in case something really happens. And if you're coming back in the dark, lights are important. Tail lights, the mountings for these lights, all of this stuff is extremely important. You want to be able to see where you're going. It can get very dangerous out there when you cannot see anything, or if drivers cannot see you. So I tend to have a couple of flashy red lights for the back. I tend to wear a reflective vest so that cars can see me, and I tend to have a really decent headlight. The headlight I use is the Lumina 950 Boost. This is a very good light. It has a boost feature which allows it to get up to 950 lumens, which really brightens the road. The problem is that the higher you have it turned up, the less it's going to last. 950 lumens, you might get about an hour and a half out of that. So I usually keep it at a pretty low setting, which is around about there. But it gets much brighter. It has flashing features that you can turn on, which allows drivers to notice you more, especially in those well-lit areas where you really don't need a headlight. I don't tend to keep my headlight on all the time, just when I really need it, because if it runs out, then I don't have it. But these, I cannot emphasize enough, are very important, and it's always good to have a battery backup. This one is USB chargeable. Has a little flap right out here where you can just charge it. I like that. But if it does run down for some reason, or my boneheadedness forgets to charge it, that's when I go to something like this, which is something I kind of built, but it's a battery backup. It's 250 lumens. It's okay. It's not the greatest in the world, but it'll get the job done, and you'll be able to see where you're going. So I always carry a battery backup just in case. Making sure your tires are aired up is one of the most important that you can do. You know, having proper air pressure in your tires is not only going to make your ride more comfortable, it's also going to make your ride faster, especially if your tires are aired up to proper inflation. Getting down the hall, down the steps, out the door is probably one of the most challenging parts of the ride. Alright, I'm going to turn the GPS on. See, it's all these hazards that you got to watch out for. You hit a snowdrift or some ice and you're gonna fall right over. So you gotta be careful for this when riding in the wintertime. Depending on what kind of bike you're riding, if you're riding a fat tire bike or something that's really good in the snow, like maybe a mountain bike with plus size tires, you generally don't have a problem in the snow. But when you're riding a bike with skinnier tires or slick tread, you really got to be careful on some of these areas right here. When you're commuting to work, the last thing you want to do is get to work with a bruised knee or a broken arm or something like that. And right now, what I'm standing on right now is pure ice. So yes, it gets very dangerous in some places. If you're not comfortable, just get off your bike and walk it. Because a lot of the bike trails like these, they're not plowed. You pretty much are at the mercy of waiting till the sun melts this stuff. Because the rest of the roads are fairly decent, but these roads here are just as snow covered as the day the snow fell. So you just got to be careful, that's all. Commuting to work does not have to be dangerous and it doesn't have to be cumbersome. You just have to make a few extra preparations, and you have to be a little bit more mindful in adverse weather conditions. Now that that's behind us, bridges and overpasses here are another thing you got to be really careful of during the wintertime, because they don't thaw like regular bike paths do. The ground is usually a lot warmer than bridges are, so it takes longer for the snow to melt off bridges. And when you're riding through here, it's like a minefield. You just got to be careful. You slip and you bust your bones. That's just a start of a very bad day. This is how much the city cares about bike lanes or sidewalks. Usually the roads are pretty clear. These, however, these are not very clear, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you have to ride sidewalks. Sometimes they're the only way to get to where you're going safely. I'll take bike lanes any day of the week over a sidewalk, because you don't have all these going between roads and ups and downs and cracks in the sidewalk and everything else. I like bike lanes much better, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. See, going between streets, you got to watch out, especially if there's blind spots like a building there. A car could come right out and hit you, and they're not paying attention. And believe me, they will hit you. Well, there's an obstacle. If I were in my mountain bike, I could just jump this. It's like a light fell over or crashed or something. Weird. You have to be careful. You see how this snow sticks out to the side? Sometimes you'll get patches of snow that completely cover the whole bike path. And if that's the case, you have to veer into the actual real car lane in order to avoid it. And you see how those cars just zoom by? If they're not expecting you to get over, then you could get hit. So what you got to do is give yourself a hand signal, letting them know that you're getting over. You have to look further down the road and see what's ahead of you, you know, 20, 30, 40 feet ahead, and then make a signal that you're going to get over into the regular car lane to avoid that obstacle that's coming ahead. That is the best and safest way to do it. The wind has been brutal today, and my legs are still a little rubbery from yesterday's ride. I figured I'd stop here and take a break, because for some reason I just feel a little more worn out today, I guess. I don't understand why. I got a decent amount of sleep. I probably have a deficiency of some sort, maybe a calorie deficiency, or maybe I'm just not breathing properly, I'm not sure. Normally I could ride about work and back and still have plenty of breath to keep going and going and going. Guys, I do appreciate you guys coming along with me on this ride to work and showing you all the dangers and things that you have to deal with on a snow day. You really got to be careful. That's all I got to say. And I'll emphasize that and emphasize that and emphasize that. You don't want to break a bone. That's no fun. You're off of work. You lose money that way. You lose money on the healthcare costs. It's just not a good thing, okay? If you have to, take it extra slow. More people should get out there on bikes. More people should commute to work. And I know that weather is a big deterrent. I know that these asshole drivers out here are another big deterrent. I know that there's all kinds of different things that keep you from getting out and riding your bike, but it shouldn't, because it really is a liberating experience. I used to be a miserable person when I drove a car all the time. I just didn't feel happy. I felt like I was in prison, you know, just a prison with a view. And you had to deal with asshole drivers, constant paying attention, because you're going so much faster. So you're constantly always looking beside you, looking behind you, seeing if you're going to turn unless you're on a long stretch of highway. That's the way it was. That was life for me in a car. And I really want to get rid of the car, not just for environmental reasons, but for personal reasons. You know, I want my life to be better than it is. I want to have more inspiration. I want to do more things. I want to get out there. I want to enjoy my life, because you only get one. And I keep saying that, but you only get one. And you should enjoy it while you've got it. But thanks for coming along with me on this journey to work. If you got any comments or questions, leave them in the comment and question section. And if you would like to slap a like on this video, I'd really appreciate it. I'm not getting many likes and I'm not getting many views, and it does help us small creators, and it gives us the encouragement to keep doing videos for you guys. And I know they suck right now, but that's the whole part of video growth. You know, you'll get better and better the more and more you do it, and we're only inspired to do it more and more if you guys like it and you watch it. I do appreciate you guys that do watch, and I will see you guys on the next video. Stay safe. Bye.